Had a good sleep. I hope naintindihan yung kahapon, but if not, please watch the YouTube video again. Okay, so yesterday, just to recap lang, I guess we talked about how important the sentiment is actually in any trading system. So, broad overview lang, diba? What's alpha, what's beta, diba? How do you know if a stock is is going down because of the market or because of something fundamental? Diba? And lastly, it's more of understanding the machinery of the market eh. Diba? Diba meron akong inassign na video, diba? How the economic machine works. So basically, karoon tayo ng overview niyan. Okay? So for today, I guess this is a topic that was asked in the yesterday. How do you actually identify the swings in market sentiment? Diba? Boss was talking about risk off, risk on. Okay. So yun yung topic natin for today is just how to identify. Okay? Wait lang. Let me share my screen. Wait. Ba't ayaw? Okay, so ito, first part is, parang before we go to risk off, risk on, but we have to identify ano ba yung major asset classes muna. Diba? So, first part is just no overview. Di ko na, won't go into detail, so you guys should study up on these things, but basic lang. Second, din na, top-down market analysis. How to analyze risk off, risk on, basic trend analysis. Then, last part, bottom up. Okay? So, nakalimutan ko ng tawag sa finance dito. Ang tawag dun basta anyway. So, this is the risk-return profile of different asset classes. Okay? So, may dalawa. Safe haven or what you call risk-off assets. Risky assets. So, these are the ones na pag risk on, the money is going here. Okay? So, safe haven, that includes cash, that includes government treasury bonds, okay, and that includes precious metals. Okay, so if you look at this from a global perspective, the most risk-free treasury bonds are yung mga Japanese bonds, European bonds, and yung US bonds, of course. So US is the biggest market kasi sila yung pinakamaraming utang eh. Okay? So risk assets, so you have industrial commodities, oil, copper, mga ganyan, real estate, corporate bonds, and of course, our favorite, common stocks and crypto. Okay? So the way I see it, yung crypto, it's really a very speculative asset. And in fact, if you look at pag yung mga speculative stocks, penny stocks gumagalaw, that's when crypto performs the best. Okay, so that's how, I mean, based on the movement of the market, it's a speculative asset talaga. Okay? Okay? So first, okay, let's go to stocks. Okay, so this is your basic valuation formula. I hope you guys are all familiar. Diba? So I just put it here, diba? Just to show you guys ano yung major drivers ng stocks. Ano yung major drivers ng stocks, diba? So, one, of course, you have R is your interest rates, diba? So it's also called your discount rate, diba? Kasi it's the rate that you use to adjust the cash flows to the present value. So you discount the cash flows, future cash flows, diba? So basic math, diba? The higher the growth of the company, the bigger the cash flows in the next few years, the more sensitive it is to rates. Okay? So kaya yung past few months, when the 10-year of the US went up a lot, the stocks that suffered the most are the high growth stocks. Okay? So another very important variable is of course the cash flows. Cash flows, diba? Which is your dividend plus the growth rate. Okay? So this dividend is mostly stable. Ito yung key variable dito, growth. Diba? So stocks are sensitive to growth, sensitive to the discount rate. Okay? And yeah. Of course, very sensitive then to the economy, of course. Okay? So another type of formula, I forgot what this is called na, but this is the expected return of stocks. So basically parang just a simplified formula nung una eh. So expected return of stocks, let's say you expect stocks to go up 20%. So that's coming from three major sources. About one, dividend yield, two, earnings growth, and three, yung valuation. Okay, so yung valuation mo, of course, inversely correlated to interest rates. Diba? The lower interest rates are, the more valuable stocks are. Diba? Kasi everyone is, alam mo yan, like if you're a pension fund or something, a big player, you always have a target eh. Diba? So pag mababa yung yield ng bonds, you have to allocate more to stocks. Diba? So relative siya. Okay? So simple stuff. Bonds naman. So treasury bonds, these are government bonds. Government bonds. Okay? So key drivers, inflation, growth. Okay? So this is if this is a developed market bond, let's say Japan, Europe, or US, ito lang yung key drivers niyan. But if you were, let's say you're the smaller country like the Philippines, Indonesia, Russia, mga ganyan, who have a history of default. So, history of default, like Philippines defaulted 1970s, 1980s. Okay, syempre ngayon investment grade na tayo eh, pero still, if you are a developing market, may isa pang variable yan, which is your, malay ko dito yun eh, ayun, default risk premium. Default risk premium. Okay, so as you can see here, so this is your US 10-year bond. The red one is your inflation. If you look at that, ang taas ng correlation niya. Diba? So the 10-year theoretically should compensate the investor for inflation and for growth. Growth, bakit growth, diba? Kasi depende sa growth ng economy, nag-iiba yung supply-demand of capital. So nag-iiba yung supply-demand of capital, ito yung price of capital. Diba? So it depends on the supply and demand for capital. Diba? So the faster the growth of the economy, the higher the demand for capital. Diba? So at a certain point, parang kulang na yung supply, so paakit yung rates. Okay, so as you can see today, this is as of September 2020. Inflation is down here. Inflation is 1.3. Diba? Lately, diba, umakyat. I mean, the latest number was 5% in the US eh. Diba? But the 10-year now is at 1.6. So meaning you have a deeply negative real interest rates. Okay, so actually that's good for stocks. Okay, so next naman, the other safe haven asset, precious metals. O yung cash niyan hindi discuss kasi, I mean, cash is cash. Almost risk-free. Okay, so yung precious metals, the driver of precious metals, real yields. So depende sa inflation. Diba? So let's say yung bonds mo, like today, bonds today have negative real return, meaning lugi ka. Okay, then people have an incentive to switch to the other safe haven asset, which is gold. Okay, so if you go back here, 1970s, 1970s, 80s, it was a highly inflationary environment. Bond yields went up to 15%, meaning the bond price went down, meaning it got sold off. The money went to gold and silver. So here, I think, ang laki na inakit dito. So almost 500%, I think, for gold, and silver went up 1,000%. Okay, so today we're in the same environment of very low to negative real yields. That's why yung gold and silver mo have been on an uptrend for the past few years. Okay, and I think going forward, if we were to have another risk-off environment, gold, silver will definitely outperform. Okay, so next naman, industrial commodities. Ito, medyo simple lang. Supply and demand. I mean, there's no way to forecast the value of this. Wala siyang, diba? It depends sa supply and demand. Okay? And another factor is the US dollar. So take note that when you look at commodities anywhere, it's mostly quoted in US dollars. That means that when you want to buy them, you need US dollars. Diba? So depende if nag-appreciate or depreciate in US dollar, it has an effect on the demand for commodities. Kasi pwede siya maging mas mahal for you or mas mura for you. Okay? So ayun lang. Just very basic. I guess just for you guys to understand why there's this kind of delineation, diba? So basta safe haven, more of guaranteed yung cash flows, maliit yung volatility. Risk assets, mostly leverage to the economy, diba? Or uncertain cash flows. Hindi sure yung cash flows, diba? Okay? So now we can go to the second part. Okay? So I guess the key principle here is that as a trader, you have to wait for the market to confirm your judgment. Okay? So if you're investor, hindi importante. Ang importante sa investor, cheap or expensive, is a good company or not. Okay? But if you're a trader / speculator, you need for the market to confirm your judgment. So if the market, say, may view ka, but the market's not confirming it, maybe you're too early, maybe you're wrong, maybe something new is happening. Okay, you need to develop the discipline to wait. Okay, so markets never wrong, opinions often are. Okay, ang isipin niyan, when the market goes up, it doesn't matter what you think. Okay, it's gonna go up. If the market's gonna go down, doesn't matter what you think. Okay, it's gonna go where it wants to go. Okay, so wala, ito lang yung intro natin kasi nga, all this next few parts is just how to analyze the price action. Okay? So yeah, there's dami nito, pero okay, let's focus. Wait lang. So these are risk on environment. So parang these are different things you have to look at. Okay? Okay, so first, let's go to the risk of environment. Risk of meaning investors want to reduce the risk in their portfolios, or they're scared, okay, diba? So, asset class level, safe haven assets outperform risk assets, outperform. Diba? Keyword dito, outperform, meaning pwedeng sideways lang yung safe haven, not necessarily going up, but the risk assets are going down. So outperform, everything is relative. Okay? So emerging markets are risky assets. So you would see the currencies depreciate, okay? Net foreign outflows, and then both bonds and stocks, both can go down, sell off. Basta sa big investors globally, emerging markets, whether bonds, stocks, risky yan. Okay? So what are the risk parameters? Mataas yung volatility ng market. Noticeable, you're gonna see the up-down swings get bigger in the market. Market correlation high. Ang sabihin niyan, meaning doesn't matter what the fundamentals is. Okay? When the market's bad, nadadamay lahat. So parang may contagion. Okay? What's the style? Okay? If you're in the Philippines, we can do, this is an option for us, counter trend trading. Diba? Kasi as we said yesterday, the Philippines can be highly inefficient because of the low liquidity of the market. Okay? But when you're outside, we almost never do this. Counter trends. Siguro very selected, but we do them mostly using ETFs or actually options. On individual stocks, you almost never do counter trend. Okay? Kasi US is highly efficient eh. Highly efficient eh. Diba? So if you're following the markets, sabi, avoid this power. There was no reason why it went down to 20. I mean, if you look at the first quarter earnings, sobrang lakas, but it was going down. Because of the MSCI, which removed it from the index, so nagkaroon ng forced liquidation, forced selling. Only in the Philippines bababa yan. If it was in the US market, that would never go down. Kasi, I mean, it's an obvious opportunity and daming papasok bibili niyan eh. So that's why we only do it in the Philippines. So when you're outside, what we do is that, since you have a lot of flexibility, you can go long safe haven assets. Okay? So you might say, hindi, mabagal yan eh. No. In the US markets, you can leverage up. There are ETFs that are times 2, times 3. You can engineer the risk to suit your preferences. Okay, and then what we do trend trading pa rin on individual stocks. What we do is everything's going down, we monitor the market, sino yung di bumababa dito, which are the strongest ones. Most likely they're gonna be the first ones to go up when the market stabilizes. Okay? So type of opportunities, local, value, quality meaning yung mga SM, BDO, or yung mga high yield plays. So this but basta you're focused more on the big caps. They're the first ones to rally. Okay, so global, quality, high growth. Actually, more high growth kami parati. Yan yung biggest upside talaga eh. Okay, so ito lang, when you pag risk of environment, what you have to see is that, like what we said yesterday, let's say the Philippines is okay, but something's happening in the US. We always pay attention to that. You can never ignore that. O ignore at your own peril. Okay? So let's say Philippines, di na masyadong overbought. But US is scary. Wala, we have to respect that. Basta philosophy namin, risk first, profit second. Okay? So flip side, risk on environment. Investors add risk to their portfolio. Risk assets outperform safe haven assets. So you're gonna see your safe haven assets maybe go sideways or even down. Okay, emerging markets, currencies appreciate, this flows coming in. Both bonds and stocks go up. Risk parameters, low volatility. Diba? Ito, mamaya, I'm gonna show you guys what this VIX is. Okay, then market correlation low. Market correlation low. Like for example, I think Philippines now is obviously start of a risk on environment. Diba? So, practical application, when the market pulls back, you shouldn't be too scared actually. Diba? In fact, it might be a good thing. Kasi pag nag-pull back yung market, sabihin mo umakyat, people are taking profit, then money is going to rotate to the other stuff that hasn't gone up yet. Okay, remember, risk on environment ito. Okay, so that's why pag risk on environment, iba yan. You shouldn't look at the market too closely anymore. Okay, trading strategy, definitely trend trading only. I mean, anything that's not going up when the entire market is exploding, I would doubt that, no. But ngayon okay pa since it's just starting. Pero let's say everything's gone up already. Boom, tapos may isang stock ayaw umakyat. Ayoko yan. Okay? Okay? So, the types of opportunities, So, depende. Okay? So, meron type ng risk-on environment that the economy is quite weak, diba? But liquidity is todo 100%. Diba? So, in that case, when you look at globally, high-growth stocks outperform your cyclical stocks. Okay? And in fact, this is what's been happening 2010 to 2020. Okay? So, yung cyclical stocks mo, they're underperformed severely, going down for the past 10 years. Then yung high growth, yung mga Apple, Amazon, those are the stocks going up. Okay? But this year, fourth quarter of 2020 and 2021, so obviously the dynamic is different. There's a lot of optimism on economic growth. Diba? So that's why your cyclicals are outperforming. So this is typical actually in when you just came from a recession. Okay, so in 2008-9, same scenario actually. At the start of that bull market, nag-outperform yung cyclical stocks. Okay? So may pinakitang chart si boss diba? That in the Philippines, you just slap on the 10-year in the Philippines, makita may risk off, risk on. So that can work in the Philippines kasi Philippines is liquidity driven Meaning it benefits a lot from global liquidity. Okay? That's why it can also work. Pero for me, actually, the better indicator is the US dollar. The direction of the US dollar. Okay? So, wait, skip muna natin to. So, this is what I'm talking about. Okay? So, this is a table that shows that when the dollar is weak, emerging markets, especially ASEAN markets, outperform. So, weak dollar, to make it simple, it's been maraming liquidity, dollar liquidity. Diba? So, weak dollar here, minus 15%. Look at the performance of emerging markets, diba? Okay? So, this is the best example. July 1 to 2001, 2008. Emerging markets, 250%. Developed markets, 34%. Dollar minus 40%. Weak dollar means high dollar liquidity, means a lot of money chasing stocks. Okay, so and then this slide shows the risk off and risk on environments. And itong sa taas, this is stocks, US. This is the IEF, is your 10-year bond, treasury bond. XAU is gold. Okay? So what I marked here was the risk of environments. So as you can see, sobrang linaw niya. When the market is topping, weakening, look what's going up. 2010, market's going down. Ito, parang maliit lang siya, but this is 20% decline. It's a 20% decline. Look what's going up, diba? Okay, 2011. Okay, this is another big 20+% decline. Safe haven assets are going up. Diba? You get the malinaw, diba? Okay, so here 2020, I think this is one of the best examples. Diba? As I mentioned yesterday, during the first part of 2020, January, Feb, actually the US market was still going up. US market was still going up, but when you look at Asia, diba, it was already weakening because of course COVID, diba? China yung first tinamaan and every market that was geographically near China, of course, nadamay. Okay, but when you look at the US, kung bakit may US, maybe they think because it's in the other side of the world, baka hindi matamaan. But obviously that was, alam mo yun, an irrational assumption. Wala nang borders ngayon, diba? I mean, it's so easy to fly there. Diba? So at that time, US stocks were still going up, but as you can see here, you can just zoom it in, nagsisimula na umakit yung gold and bonds. So obviously, something was happening already. Okay? So next is volatility. Okay? So when you know how to use EMAs, you also have an objective indicator of volatility. Diba? So let's say the market's trending up, always above your 50-day. Diba? And then you have 1 week when parang whipsaw yung market. Diba? Whipsaw around the 50, around 200-day. So that's also a volatility indicator. Diba? But in the US, there's this one indicator called the CBOE Volatility Index. Okay, so this measures the activity in the options market. Options market. So these are derivatives, okay, that can be used to protect your portfolio. May mga big investors sa US, parang they're too big to get in and out of the market. Let's say, hawak nila 400 billion. Diba? Paano tayo magbebenta? I mean, quickly. Diba? In fact, when they sell, baka sila pa yung magpababa ng buong market eh. So it doesn't make any sense to churn the account. It's too big to be nimble eh. Diba? So what these players do is they use options to protect their portfolio. Options. Diba? So you can buy, let's say, put options. When the market goes down, the put options increase in value, thus offsetting your losses in the portfolio. Okay, so those are yung options, diba? So this CBOE Volatility Index, it measures the activity in the options market. So basically, nami-measure niya kung takot na yung mga tao or hindi sila takot. Diba? Depending on the activity in the options market. So basically, when this number goes above 20 to 30, you know there's fear already in the market. Okay? Actually, this is just another indicator. Actually, you're gonna survive even without this. Diba? Just by analyzing actually price action, makita mo na yan eh. Okay? So, ito, familiar na tayo dito, diba? Correlation in times of stress or risk of environment. Diba? So, high correlation. Diba? So, which in times of panic can go up to 100%. Ayan o. So, this is your all the members of the PSEI index were down at least 26% in last 2020. Leading up to the crash nung March 2020. So, 100% went down. So, you're telling me lahat yan pangit yung fundamentals. Hindi. It's because of the market. Okay? So, this is why parang you're fighting really an uphill battle if the market's not with you. At the worst, can be 100% correlation. So, why? Why? So, I guess, panoorin niyo yung margin call na movie, I think it's 2009, para ma-visualize nyo. Pero it's usually from margin calls from speculators. What's a margin call? I think familiar man tayo dito, no? It's when you borrow money from your broker, borrow money to buy stocks, and then your stocks decline a certain percentage, the broker automatically liquidates your positions. No questions asked. Diba? So it's to protect the broker, of course. Diba? Kasi pag na-bankrupt yung client, tatamaan yung broker. Okay? So another one is fund redemptions. Let's say I'm a fund manager. Okay, something's happening in the market. I know dadami yung clients who want to get their money back. Okay? Minsan anticipate na nila, okay, we need to raise cash. So they're gonna liquidate everything. They're gonna liquidate their positions. Okay? Then another thing, yan, systemic risk. That can cause a financial crisis. That can also cause a scramble for cash. So anything that can be sold is going to be sold. And in fact, this happened in March 2020. There was a few weeks there where lahat bumaba. Gold, treasury bonds, stocks all went down. Okay, so those are times na, ayun, there is a stress on the financial system, possibility of financial crisis, diba? People scrambling for cash. Okay? Okay, fairly simple, diba? Okay, so I guess we can, let's look at the market today. Para may konting application, diba? Okay? So, if you look at bonds, over the past year, obviously going down. Stocks over the past year, ayan, going up. So, you look at commodities, oil, ayan, going up. Eh. So, ito, nickel. May konting profit taking lately, but general direction is up. Emerging markets, general direction, packet. So, you look at your gold, just going sideways. So, ito, economics at work. Gold is outperforming your treasury bonds kasi negative real yields. But as a whole, your safe haven assets are underperforming your stocks. So obviously, dun pa lang, di ba? Malinaw that you have a risk-on environment globally. Okay? And definitely, there's gonna be some corrections here and there. But alam mo yun, so as long as the trend, the overall trend is intact, in your risk assets, I won't question that. When am I gonna change my mind? If I see major trends broken, especially in your risk assets. So that's where papasok tong trend analysis. Okay? So one basic rule, the trend is your friend except at the end where it bends. Bawal may in love dito. Okay? So yung market parang deadly ma-in love sa totoo lang as a trader deadly yan kasi hirap magbago ng isip mo. Yan na, in love ka na diba? So market, kailangan wala, no attachment, fling lang to. Okay? If it doesn't love you back, sorry, cut loss ka na. Okay? Diba? So trend is friend except at the end where it bends. So that's one. Okay? Kaibigan kita basta umakit ka. Basta may green sa ahon ko. Diba? So another second point nito is that pag uptrend siya, you should assume that more likely it's going up than down. Kailangan tiwala ka dun na mas mataas yung probability akit siya. Diba? Meaning pag nang pullback yan, shit, bababa na to. Hindi. More likely than not, it's gonna go up still. Okay? So, yung probability sa utak mo, kailangan i-set mo na yan. That, okay, we're having a correction, we're having a pullback. Diba? Probably, it's just pause lang, it's still gonna go up. Okay? So, what you'll need, basic trend analysis, price chart, 50 to 200 day EMA. So for our purposes, we're gonna look at medyo big picture 1-2 years chart. So this is the most important. And then EMA crossover points. So this number 3 is the one that generates signals to us. That is 100% objective. Diba? So you can even set in the computer, diba? Okay, uptrend. Tingin ko medyo familiar naman tayo mga tao dito, no? So, bibilisan ko na to. Okay, uptrend. A series of higher highs and higher lows. That's your basic definition of an uptrend. Okay? When you look at your EMAs, they are pointing up. Packet. Diba? Okay? Price is above the 200-day EMA. Okay? Then of course, yung volume mo on the up days are supposed to be higher on the down days or down weeks. Okay? Simple enough, diba? So, basta ito, even if you remove the price action, you can just look at the EMAs. Okay, saan papunta to? Diba? Ayan, so you have your scares definitely. Diba? Pero yung sinasabi ko okay, uptrend tayo kasi packet EMAs. So more likely than not, this is just a pullback. Things are going up. Higher probability na packet pa rin yan. Okay, opposite side. Downtrend. Okay, series of lower highs and lower lows. Okay, minimum 4 points to define a trend. Okay? So price is below 200-day EMA. 200-day EMA pointing down. Okay? Yung 50-day EMA hindi parating pointing down. Sometimes may flat, sometimes pointing up pa nga Diba? But definitely 200 days mo dapat pointing down. Okay? Simple enough. So, pag downtrend, sinasabi ko, in between, there's gonna be corrections, bargain hunters. But, yun nga, unless I'm proven wrong, I'm gonna assume that the price is going to go in the direction of the overall trend. Higher probability. Okay, sideways, trendless. 50 days mo, 200 days are sideways. Okay, sideways. Ito, wala nangyayari. No interest, neglect phase. Okay? So, the direction of the trend matters, but there's another thing which is the angle of the trend. Okay? So, the inspiration for this chart came from Boss Edward when he was explaining how to analyze the market in a badminton game daw. Diba? So, sabi niya, importante yung angle ng trend din. Okay? Wait lang. Okay? So, uptrend, may dalawang klase. Strong bull, weak bull. Okay? For strong bull, ito, runaway market. Okay? So, we have another line to put here. This is 20-day EMA. So, strong bull is that the pullbacks almost never reach the 50-day EMA. So, malakas na malakas to. Okay, so the proper way to trade this market is momentum. Momentum, meaning if you wait for prices to become oversold, they may never be oversold for a long time. So parang mag-aantay ka ng sobrang tagal. Diba? So here, what works best is momentum trading. Diba? Siyempre, position trading also, of course. Diba? Assuming you got in early in the trend, but if medyo gitna ka na, medyo late ka na, you can be exposed to these gigantic sell-offs, especially if things get overbought. So that's why momentum works best. Hit and run lang. Okay, weak bear, weak bull. So I would say 80% of the time, the market is just weak bull. Okay, so if you look at it, swing trading to. Okay, the pullbacks can reach the 50-day and they can take a long time, sometimes 2 months pa. 2 months, 3 months, maganyan. Okay, so this is swing, buy low, sell high. Diba? If you don't take profits 1 point, pwedeng masoli you can give back a big amount of your profits. Okay, so downtrend, you have a strong bear, you have a weak bear. Okay, ito flip side lang. But if you downtrend, if you look at the rallies in between, they are very mahina. Mahina yan. Diba? Doesn't reach the 50-day EMA. So, ito, stay away. Don't catch the falling knife. Masasagasaan ka dito. If you're in the Philippines, stay in cash. If you're outside, you can do momentum shorting of stocks. Or, as I said, you can go long the safe haven assets. Long is always easier. Okay, weak bull, ayan, mabagal. Mabagal siya, okay? So there's usually also what happens is that when something first goes down, mabagal, then at the end it accelerates downwards. So this is you're already panic selling. So it's the same pagpaakyat na mabagal, sometimes at the end it accelerates parabolic increase. So ito naman, opposite emotion, greed. Okay? So, ayan. So, we identified the uptrend, downtrend, weak bull, strong bull. Diba? Next naman, okay, how do you identify a bottoming or a topping pattern? Diba? Para malaman kung nag-overheat na yung market in one direction. Okay, so I showed this yesterday. Diba? Yung one very concrete sign nga, as I said, is the parabolic. Parabolic, yung sinasabi ko na kanina. Acceleration. Diba? So that's the sign na, okay, we're in the last leg of an increase or a sell-off. Okay? So here are just some instances. Diba? This is NASDAQ. Diba? You have a long, weak bull. 50-day ito weak bull environment. Then sa dulo, it accelerates. Nagsi-speed up yung increase. Diba? Then you're gonna see a big gap already between the price and your EMAs, like the 10-day, I think this is a 20-day, 20, 50, 200 days, diba? Percentage wise, ang laki na ng gap. Visible na lumaki yung gap versus before. Okay, and another telltale sign is we look at the DMI ADX. So this shows you the momentum. So anytime on the entire market if it reaches 40, medyo mainit yan. On individual stocks, they can reach as high as 50, 60, depending on the size of the stock. Okay, so this is emerging markets, similar, same year, 2017, 18, weak bull, then towards the end, there's a very clear acceleration, parabolic increase. You're gonna see the biggest volume happen here. Then you have ADX above 40. Okay, so on the flip side, weak bear, then towards the end, there's an acceleration in the sell-off. That's your last leg of the sell-off. Okay, ADX 40. So this is actually a double bottom pattern. So pag nakikita mo na yung parabolic increase, diba? What we look out for next is yung reversal candlestick. Then you're gonna see topping or bottoming patterns form. So in any case, the volatility at tops and bottoms is very high. Diba? That shows you that supply and demand are nag-aaway sila, in flux. Diba? Smooth downtrend, smooth uptrend, then sa dulo, parabolic increase, then you're gonna see huge volatility at the top and at the bottom. Okay, so ito naman on individual stocks, this is Tesla. Tesla in 2019 to 2020, ito very clear, diba? 45-degree angle of movement, mabagal, then acceleration in the movement. So in individual stocks, this can be huge, diba? So in Tesla, yung blow-off run niya is what? $80, 70%. So pag exciting siya sa individual stocks, diba? So individual stocks are a lot more erratic. So you're gonna see very violent candle formations up here. Diba? Na, say up siya ng 10-20%. Then pagtingin mo sa umaga, babalik siya. 1 day or 2 day reversals. You have a spike in buying here. FOMO buying, diba? ADX 50 to 60. Okay? Then, what you're gonna, ito parang double top siya. Double top. But what you will notice here in the second top is that the volume is going to be a lot less than before. Man, dead cat bounce yung tawag dyan. Dead cat bounce. Okay? So, summary, diba? Technical signs of a market top. Volatility increases. Parabolic increase first, then a lot of volatility. Price usually undercuts important EMAs. 50-day, 200-day. 200-day EMA flattens out. Price declines on huge volume. Meron kang, let's say, the biggest up day of the past 6 months, up 20%. Diba? And then, after a while, bibenta na yan sobrang laking volume. Okay? So that's what you call a buying blow-off. 4 topping patterns form, and then pag nag-form na yung topping patterns, what you're gonna see is your divergences in indicators, let's say MACD, RSI. So pwedeng new high pa siya actually sa second top of the market. Second top, pwede pa mag new high yan eh. But when you look at your indicators, it's a lower high na. Ang tawag dyan, divergence. Divergence. Okay? So, ayan. First, diba, uptrend, parabolic increase, topping patterns. Okay? Then, what you're gonna look for next is, meron bang confirmation that this is a top? Confirmation. That can come in one of two forms. Let's say this is a topping, double top. This is your neck, ang tawag neckline. It goes below this pattern. Diba? So yan, confirmation that it's a top. Diba? Kasi pwede rin naman mag sideways lang tapos akit pa ulit. Minsan mali. It's not a market top yet. Diba? It just looks like it. Diba? So what you want to do next is confirmation. This is a very common theme in the trading. Diba? You're always looking for confirmation that your views are correct. Hindi pwede mayabang. Okay, so you can do that from pattern breakdowns, or ito pwede din. We usually use both. Okay, what we use is the how to spot trend inflection points using EMAs. So this is your 50-day EMA. This is your 200-day EMA. Okay? So this is your uptrend. Okay? Diba? So pwedeng correction lang siya, but then akit ulit. Diba? But if this pattern starts breaking down, diba, that's your confirmation. Then may isa pang confirmation, you can use the death cross, meaning the 50 days EMA goes below the 200-day. So yan, for me, already undeniable that this might be going down already. Okay. So downtrend. So in between, you can have a small corrections in between, or you can have a bigger correction, bigger rally if it goes above the 50-day. But without signs of reversal, say pattern breakout here, tapos golden cross, you can't conclude that the downtrend has already ended. Trend is your friend until it bends. Okay? So ito, we officially defined ano ba yung sabihin ng bending pattern. Okay? So as you can see, it's very objective siya, no? Hindi hula-hula to. So it's very systematic. Okay? So ito, some examples. So this is the Philippine market going back to 2007-8. So ito, once you know how to read na price action na, you don't even know what, I mean, kahit hindi mo alam na may crisis parating during this time, you would see the signs in the market. Agree? Disagree? Diba? Kitang-kita. Look, you have a smooth uptrend here, some type, hindi sobrang parabolic increase, but pwede na rin. You have a huge sell-off, diba? Ito, in a matter of weeks, the price went below 200-day. So if that's not the increase in volatility, I don't know what is, diba? Diba? Then rallied all the way to new high. Okay, hingal na. So this is your double top. Topping pattern. Next, how do I know this is going down already? Okay, you want to wait for a breakdown in the neckline of this pattern. So this is your double top. Then you have a death cross here. Wala na, sigurado na yan. Well, nothing is sure, pero probably bababa na yan. Okay, and then trend is your friend. Okay, until it bends. Diba? Until mag-bend siya, assume mo pababa yan. Okay? So dito ang daming rallies in between, 'di ba? Pero look at the EMAs, pababa yan, pababa yan. So you assume that more likely to go down. Okay? So pag ganito, downtrend, yung mantra namin it's better to be late than early. I mean trading wise Diba? Kasi when you're anticipating, okay, anticipate, buy low, buy low, buy low. By the time mahuli mo siya, patay ka na eh. I mean, if mahuli mo pa siya, most likely what's gonna happen is ipit ka na or wala ka ng bala. Diba? It's fine if you're investor ka, but if you're a trader, let's say, at worst, you're buying penny stocks, good luck. Like can go down 90-95% in the bear market. Maybe never go up anymore. Diba? Kasi hindi mo alam yung fundamentals, you're trading ka eh. So for us, I don't mind missing this actually. I don't mind. Okay lang sa akin antayin to eh. Diba? At least you already have confirmation that this thing is going up already. Diba? So I would rather pay a premium for, mas mataas na yung batting average sa tama ko. Diba? Trying to catch the bottoms can be very expensive. Okay, next. So ito yung sinasabi ko, when you zoom in closely, shit, laki na ng miss ko. Okay, but from big perspective, that's only a blip in the overall scheme of things. Diba? So this is the golden cross. We had a gigantic bull market in the next 4 years. So just basic crossover system. Now basic trend analysis is gonna get you in the market for the big move, diba? Okay? So in between, you have your small corrections. Itong bilis lang. You have your big corrections, diba? So in this case, it lasted years. 1 year almost. Diba? But without the death cross, I have to assume that the overall trend is going up. Diba? Hindi sabihin sasabihin ko na at that level. Diba? most likely I would be in cash waiting for signs, positive signs before I start to increase my position. Diba? Ayan o, daming scare. Yeah, this is actually, andito na ako dun eh. This is a gigantic scare in the market. I think down almost 30%. Okay? So it was in 2013 when, yan, parang nakita mo na dahan-dahan nag-change yung market condition. Okay? So, ayan, fast forward 2014, 2019, you had ito medyo erratic na yung market, but still very useful pa rin yung signals natin. Okay, so let's look at the market today. So, okay, let's remove the 50 to 100 days lang tayo. Okay, so ito, linaw to, diba? So here, you have the bearish trend, pababa yung 200 days. Okay, you have the rally here. So ito, there's still no confirmation packet yan, but possible. Diba? So this is actually one of our reversal patterns to eh. Ang tawag dito, falling wedge. So this is an early indication that things might be bottoming out already. Okay, but confirmation, breakout above this pattern, golden cross, yan, packet siya. Okay, so obviously it was short-lived. Magkaroon ulit ng isang big sell-off. You have death cross here. Diba? Ang dami nagsasabi, bababa tayo dito. Ako, as you know, my stance, hindi ko alam. Diba? I know it when I see it. Diba? I don't like making projections. Never. Diba? Kasi, I mean, alam mo ba talaga? How do you know? Nobody knows. Diba? And second, ayoko mabias yung mind ko. Kasi maapektuhan yung flexibility mo if you're locked into a number. Okay, so today we have this rally, a big rally, starting to have a golden cross. So, in short, what we may be looking at is the very start of an uptrend. Yay! Okay, so ayan, so I guess just to summarize everything, so I wasn't supposed to include this slide, pero gusto ata ni Boss Edward sama to eh. So this is the different types of market environments and the corresponding strategy that you should be using. Okay, so these are topping patterns, these are bottoming patterns. Okay, so I would say, roughly speaking, not always that the 200-day EMA is between sa gitna siya. Okay, so definitely itong Q4 bearish trend, definitely below 200 days EMA yan. But itong Q1, that you already have your bottoming pattern, but people are still kind of bearish. Ito parang weak bull environment. It's not always below 200 days. Sometimes it's above 200 days. So not always, but definitely the Q4 is below 200 days EMA. Okay? So let's say breakdown below 200 days, bearish trend, diba? May weak bull, weak bear. So Sino ba itong tawag na tawag? Okay? Okay? So, usually, usually after a bearish trend, patay lahat ng tao. I mean, a lot of people sugat. So, of course, it's hard to convince people to come back into the market. Slowly and slowly babalik. So, we call that a wall of worry in the market. So, usually, mangyayari dyan, mabagal umakit yung market. Kasi, people bearish pa eh. Mabagal umakit yung market. Diba? So, in that case, swing tayo, buy low, sell high. Okay? So, then, let's say the trend, parang bullish na yung mga tao, okay, bumibilis na yung increase ng market. Usually, we usually swing, pero mostly momentum trading na yan. Diba? Then, you're gonna see your topping patterns, as I talked about a while ago. Off ko na itong phone to. Diba? Then, ito opposite. You had your topping patterns na, but because people are still bullish, there's still a lot of bullishness in the market. Bullish pa yung sentiment, pero ito, pababa na yan. You already saw your topping patterns, things are getting more erratic, pa-breakdown na yung market. Okay? So, ito lang. I won't go into detail na kasi I'm sure this is gonna be talked about a lot in the technical part. Diba? So, parang for me, this is the big picture overview. Diba? So, like for example, when your risky assets like today start topping out, which you identify into the analysis, your safe haven assets start breaking out, alam mo na. Diba? Okay? So, next is bottom up. So, the common question here, meron bang best? Ano yung best? Sabi ko, for me, wala. You have to do both. They are complementary. Complementary. Diba? Meaning, sometimes, from top down, parang medyo pangit pa, no clear direction. But when you look at the market bottom up on the individual stocks, uy, parang something's happening here. Or sometimes it's opposite. You're trading, parang okay pa, dahil po umakyat. But when you look at the top down, okay, something's off. Okay? So, I also listen to that. That's for me is a sign also. Kaya sabi ko, there's no better one. It's complementary. Okay? So, from bottom-up perspective, what's the first sign of a topping market? First sign is that your original leaders begin to falter. Diba? Like for example, yung Tesla, undeniably one of the leaders the past year. When it starts topping out, that's the first sign that the market may be topping out already. Then what you're gonna see is your Teslas start profit taking, then your very speculative penny stocks start going up. Okay, so that's what happened in sa US market this January, February. So, a lot of very speculative stocks, no earnings to speak of, no earnings maybe in the next 3 years pa nga, next 5 years, going up a few 100%. Diba? Yung mga very speculative. Then you saw your big increase in Bitcoin, another speculative asset. Diba? So, sabi dito, diba? When the old dogs begin to bark, the market is on its last feeble leg. Laggards can lead the market higher. Among the telltale signs are poor quality stocks start to dominate the most active list of the up days of the market. If the best ones can't lead, the worst certainly aren't going to do so for so very long. Okay? Okay, so ayan. Watch the leaders, watch the breadth of the market. Meaning, ano yung action sa ilalim? Malakas, mahina. Diba? So, this is from Mark Minervini. Diba? So, sabi niya, okay, let's say the market came from a sell-off, a big sell-off. How does he know when to start accumulating stocks? Sabi niya, he wants to see nice action in the underlying stocks. Diba? So, sabi, testing muna siya. However, I don't usually step up my trading until I see a second wave of stocks set up subsequent to the first wave. Diba? So, meaning, first batch of stocks went up. Hindi siya magiging sobrang aggressive, testing lang. But when he sees a second wave, ayan, that's when he really starts to increase his exposure. Okay? So, I would say, ganito yung market talaga. Diba? If I tell you that, okay, nahuli ko yung top ng market, that's only after trying maybe 5 times. Okay? Okay? Pag nahuli ko siya in one go, swerte lang yun. But usually, let's say you have a view, eto, tapping out na to. I wanna go short. Or I wanna benefit from the decline, whatever. Diba? Usually after a few tries, before you get it. Ganun talaga yung market. Diba? How do you survive that several tries? Of course, risk management. Testing lang. Diba? Kasi parang pag wala yung testing, hindi mo mafe-feel yung market eh. Okay? So, there's a lot of breadth indicators. These are just some of the more common ones. There's no wrong, there's no right. Kung ano lang yung sanay ka gamitin. So, ako personally, what I look at is the percent of stocks above moving averages, especially the 15 to 100 days. I look at the 52-week highs, lows. Yan yung favorite ko eh. Okay, so ito, just an application. So, this is the US market. This is your orange, percent of stocks above 200 days. Red, percent of stocks above 50 day. So, for me, yung most important is 200 days. The 50 days, it's just an early indicator. Sometimes, parang correction lang, it's not really the pababang market. Okay? So, ito, it's like here in 2018, it was very clear. Diba? If you look at the market, packet yung market here, but the participation is going down. Diba? So, the number of stocks above 200 days is going down, even if the market's going new highs. Ano isipin niya? Isipin, konti na lang yung market. Diba? So, that's a bottom-up signal that something's happening, okay? And if you combine that with a proper top-down view, parang for me, sobrang tataas na yung batting average mo. Na, okay, ito na to, diba? Okay? So, 2015, ito naman, when you look at the pattern here, it's bad. Para siyang ano eh, downtrend, diba? High, low, lower high, lower low. Ito, walang divergence, but it just confirms na mahina yung market. Diba? The market almost reached the previous high, almost, but the participation is way lower than the previous top in the market. So, walang divergence, pero gives you a good picture. Okay, so ito 2019 here, ito walang signal, bullish pa rin, parang bulaga lang bigla. But I would say when you look at this from a top-down asset class perspective, you would see it. Diba? So sometimes walang signal from the bottom up. Diba? Kaya nga you have to look at it a more complete picture. Kailangan may top-down din. Okay, so Philippines. So this is ito very memorable sa akin to. Look at this. The market just went sideways. Diba? But look at the participation here. Actually, you don't need this indicator kasi konti lang yung stocks sa Philippines eh. Diba? But obviously, there were only a few stocks holding the market up. Diba? Yan yung mga SM eh. Okay, here, maraming magandang signal. This is like a double bottom pattern. Diba? Nag-lower low pa. But if you look at the breadth, it was improving already. Okay, again, pag Philippines, you don't need this kasi konti lang yung stocks. But outside, you definitely need it. Meron siya sa trading view. Just not sure about the command, but you can search it there. Okay, so ayan, so that's basically, I guess, just to wrap up. Parang medyo marami, no? So, why do you need to analyze price action? Because we're traders and you have to wait. You have to form the discipline to wait for the action to confirm your judgments. Kasi ba sabi nga kahapon if you go against the herd, pwede kang masagasaan dyan. Diba? Diba? The market can be way oversold for a long time. It can be way overbought for a long time also. Diba? Don't anticipate. Read the signals. Diba? Top down, bottom up, complementary. Diba? Sometimes wala kang makita sa bottom up pero top down may warning signs. Diba? Or vice versa. Okay, so pag top down yan, you have to analyze it from a intermarket level. Intermarket meaning different markets, emerging markets, Philippines, then different asset classes. Bottom up, studying the market internals, watching for underlying participation or the lack of. Okay, so that's it. Let's open the floor for questions. Sorry, I know marami, pero we only have so much time so okay, game. Okay, do we have sino nag-raise ng hand?
Guys, go ahead. We'll go by order na lang. Adrian, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, my question lang is, let's say in terms of watching out for the death crosses or the golden crosses, parang, is there like a time frame preference? Because sometimes it's possible baka kapag nag-death cross na, baka parang it's too late na kapag sa daily tinitignan, parang ganun.
Yeah. So definitely may pagkalaging yung EMAs, no? I mean, it makes sense kasi 50 days, 200 days EMA yan eh. So by its very nature, it's a confirming indicator. That's why you have to know, okay, how do I know ano yung issue ng topping pattern? Diba? Ano yung issue ano yung confirmation when it breaks the support levels on the price action? Diba? Doon pa lang alam mo na eh. Diba? So kami, like, when you're seeing this topping pattern, parabolic increase, that's your chance to sell na eh. Diba? So actually, before pa dumating yung topping pattern, light na yung position namin dyan. Minsan wala na kami hawak dyan eh. Diba? So actually, almost never, parang by the time yung death cross comes, baka naka-short na kami. Diba? Or let's say 10% lang exposure mo, 20%. Diba?
Just to add also, do you have a preference? Like, would you say it's better to have less parang EMA indicators? Because let's say personally kasi as a trader, parang I have parang EMA 9, EMA 20, EMA 50, EMA 100. Parang would it be better to just focus on 2 lang? Parang ganun.
Yung what we talked about is just analyzing the market from a big picture, no? Yung swings in sentiment. And for that, you need yung that time frame na sinabi ko, 1 to 2 years. Diba? So, the best indicator for that is the 50 to 100 days. Diba? But let's say, okay, you identify a good market environment for stocks. Good market environment, yung analysis natin. Then you're going trading the individual stocks. So yan, depende sa time frame mo, whether you're a day trader, swing trader, diba, momentum, nag-iiba yung EMAs gagamitin mo. So let's say if your momentum, definitely nasa 10-20 day EMA yan. Okay? So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Pero I guess just to add, there's a reason why I use the 50-200 days. Kasi I want you guys to ignore all the small movements in the market. Noise yan eh. Okay? Noise yan. Okay? So as long as yung big picture yung sinabi ko hindi nagbabago, okay, trend is your friend. Okay?
Marco, go for it.
Sir, do you think it would be possible for the US dollar to lose the reserve currency status? And if they do, since you were talking about the inverse correlation between the dollar and emerging markets, will this be good for the Philippine market?
Diba I showed you guys a while ago, diba? If weak US dollar environment, what benefits the most? Actually, everything outside the US. Okay? So if ever that comes true, yeah. I'm pretty sure today pa lang, parang big players have already figured out, okay, wait lang, we need to diversify away from the US. Diba? Kasi definitely with the policies that are being used today, I mean, to say it bluntly, well, they want to do pinapaputok nila yung currency. Diba? Parang it's damaging the prestige or the legitimacy of the US dollar. Pero honest opinion, when this is gonna happen, I think the demise of the dollar is highly exaggerated. Matagal pa yan. I mean, oh yes, they're depreciating it. Oh, definitely. Pero check in the past 20-30 years, ano yung depreciation? Maliit lang ah. Diba? It's not like, ano, diba? It's not like parang what you saw in like, if you study emerging markets, sometimes overnight 20% devaluation. Wala namang titiwala sa'yo pag ganun. Diba?
Zach, go ahead.
Hey sir, I wanted to ask lang, for the opportunities you mentioned kanina on the risk-on market, if it's cyclical over high growth for growth, can you re-clarify why it's cyclical over high growth for growth-driven markets?
Yung growth sinasabi ko is the economic growth. Okay? So when economic growth is high, diba, which companies are the most exposed to that? Of course, yung mga oil companies, mga financials, di ba? So parang may competition yung high growth eh. Diba? So usually nag-outperform yung high growth, yung cyclical. Diba? Like I think today yung very clear. Kasi what happened to the cyclicals last year? They died. Net loss lahat. Net loss, gigantic net losses, earnings down 99%. Diba? Swing to 2021, we're recovering. Diba? Pag yung earnings mo, EPS mo, nag 100 to 1, tas next year, 5, it's up 500% ah. Earnings per share. Diba? Kaya, pwedeng ang laki ng swing nung cyclical stocks, depending of course on the valuation part. Diba? So usually when you're coming from a big gigantic recession, then recovery ka, yun, nag-outperform yung mga cyclicals. Okay? So yeah, so eto just parang second level na eh, diba? Malamang okay yung stocks, pero it's just ano yung sectoral which one do you have to focus on.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, we got a question from the stream. RJ is asking, why do you use EMAs over SMAs?
Actually, you can also use SMAs. Okay lang, actually it can work also. But for us, parang mas robust yung signals ng EMAs. Kasi pag SMA, yung the calculation of SMA is that it treats every data point same weight lahat. Diba? Meaning pag 200 days, yung pinaka-old na data, same weight as in US data. Which parang pag yung market kasi most usually the recent data is more important eh. Diba? And pag EMAs, mas mataas yung weight ng recent data. Diba? So for us, it gives better signals. But actually, you can also use either way.
All right, Alvin, go ahead.
So with all the indicators, sir, like liquidity, volume, price, other markets, do they usually tell the same story, or are they sometimes conflicting? And if ever they're conflicting, could you rank like in terms of importance? Like I should look at price first, then indicators, then the other things.
Yung any indicators, let's say MACD, mga ganyan, diba? They're just derivatives of the price action. Diba? So parang kung mali yung analysis mo ng price, most definitely mali na yung analysis mo ng indicators. Diba? So kung let's say trend analysis, what you should prioritize always is the price action. Diba? So I guess zooming out naman, okay, using this bottom up, top down, sometimes hindi malinaw. Ganun talaga. Diba? So that's why parang sabi ko, diba, it sometimes involves a lot of testing. Diba? So parang yung testing namin minsan maliit lang, let's say 1% of your portfolio, or let's say 0.25% VAR. Basta any small amount na kahit na mali ka ng 10 beses, it won't, ano ba yan, you won't take too much of a hit. Okay?
Sir, follow-up question. So, for example, yeah, I meant more sa macro rather than the technical stuff. So, for example, what if prices increasing, indicators not too strong, but then let's say the Philippine economy is doing well, but then the US dollar is doing weak, and then liquidity is low. So, parang conflicting
Okay.
macroeconomics.
Okay. So, as we said, parang, okay, wait, syempre, hindi ko naman pwede sabihin na, hindi, parating bababa yung Philippines pag, when the out there is medyo pangit, diba? But, yeah, as our philosophy said, kami, risk first kami. Diba? Probability-wise, let's say, 7 out of 10 times, or even 8 out of 10 times, when something's happening out there, okay, even if we're Philippines is all green signals, we have to listen to that. Diba? Parang for us, basta risk first kami. Let's see, if we miss out, we're wrong. And that's fine. But we can always come back. Diba? Even if you miss out, diba, okay lang. Diba? Kasi parang if you're too aggressive, meron din times na jackpot ka, tatamaan ka talagang malaki. Diba? And then, that's just gonna offset the times na sinuwerte ka. Get what I mean, diba? So any luck in the market, by its nature, will offset down the road. Diba? So for us, yung mga swerte, okay lang, diba? Diba?
Thank you, sir.
More questions, guys. Alvin, follow up ka pa. He's all yours. Just attack him.
Baka
May time ka pa.
they're absorbing pa. Kahit naman when you're absorbing it, pwede to follow naman. No need to force.
No pressure, Alvin. I'm just joking. I'm just messing with you.
Lagot ka kay BJ. Yeah. It's okay, no pressure. May succeeding pa naman. They can still ask as the sessions go along.
Everyone on the Facebook stream, please comment your questions lang. Don't be shy. Danny, go ahead.
Hi, sir. I guess for my question, it's more of like, how many indicators do you usually use to screen a stock? And when screening a stock, do you usually use the same indicators, or do you change depending on which stock you're looking at?
Well, syempre, it depends on what you want to look for. Diba? I think it's total naman to when you go to that part in the lectures. Diba? Pero kami, the most basic is Of course, it has to be above the 200 days EMA. Diba? Then you can also add 50-day above 200-day EMA. Diba? And then what we use is up, let's say up 25-30% in 1 month. Diba? Para makita mo which ones are outperforming the market, then yun na. Okay? Then, if may personal preference ka or depending on the market, you can just tweak it. Diba? Like for example, if you're in the Philippines, 30% 1 month, parang konti lalabas dun eh. Kasi most of the companies here are quite big eh. Or parang mostly old economy industries don't have a lot of volatility. But if the US, pag let's say you're screening for let's say up 20% 1 month, sobrang dami lalabas yan. So you have to tweak it a little. So ayun, yun yung pinaka-basic eh. Okay,
Marco, go ahead.
Sir, for commodities, what do you think of investing in companies that, like for example, like Warren Buffett, when I think he was bullish on gold one time, instead of buying the direct commodity, he bought a pure play gold company. So what do you think of investing in like a commodity producer rather than the underlying commodity itself?
ako definitely I would choose the miner. Diba? Kasi depending on the balance sheet or the characteristics of that miner, if let's say gold goes up 30%, may iba pwede umakit ng 300% eh. 'Di ba? So it depends on the cost structure of the miner, depends on the valuation, diba? Depends on the balance sheet if it's highly levered. So definitely I would choose the miner, diba? Pero if you're trading naman the actual commodity, okay lang naman. Kasi actually the margin is pag commodities mataas eh. Meaning you can lever up a lot of your positions to alam mo yan, para tumaas yung risk exposure mo. Diba? Kasi usually pag gold, bagal eh.
Alvin, the floor is yours.
So sir, yeah, with everything that you could analyze, how would you know na you're analyzing too much, like it's analysis paralysis, or yeah, you're not analyzing things enough? So how would you know like you're in the good ground?
Uh, the best way of course to know is your actual trading numbers. Hit ratio, edge ratio. Diba? So parang over the long term, siguro yung baseline na hit ratio is around pag 40%, magaling ka na nun eh. Diba? Over the long run Siyempre sometimes it's a good market, mas mataas yun, let's say 60, 70, 80%. Then when it's a bad market, mas mababa. So over the long run, you should be averaging around 40%. Diba? Then your edge ratio, meaning what's your average win over your average loss, kailangan naman siguro at least 2 siguro at least, diba? But aim for around 3 or 4, diba? So pag pangit yung dalawang numbers mo na yun, sabihin parang there's something wrong going on eh, diba? But yeah, more than that, I guess, let's see, for any system, ano ba yung, what are the stuff you need to know? Which we're defining right now na nga, diba? Okay, up here, market sentiment, ano yung variables kailangan mo i-check. Okay, then when you're attacking this stock, diba, what makes it a good company, but okay yung setup, diba? Once you have all those, nakuha mo na yun, diba, you should have, dapat maabot mo na yung baseline numbers na what I'm saying. Diba? So, parang if you're analyzing too much na hindi naman natin pinag-usapan or is outside the requirements of that system, ayun na. Alam mo na. Diba? Or pag hindi mo mapindot yung button, diba? Ano ba iba? I think parang usually kasi yung the psychology of that is that parang you're not di ka parang kailangan kasi risk taker yung mentality mo eh when you're going to the market in entrepreneurial, meaning you're willing to lose this much but I expect to make more. But losing is part of the game eh. So when you run a business, di ba, may revenues, may expenses, cost of goods sold, that's unavoidable. Guess what? It's the same in trading. Yung losses mo, yun yung cost of goods sold mo eh, in order to find the winners eh. Diba? So parang without losses, wala ka rin panalo. So ayun.
One follow-up question, sir. So, yeah, with all the possible news going out, do you have like recommended sites on where to listen, or just the major news sites of each country?
Actually ako, I get my news. Meron akong mga taong fina-follow sa Twitter actually. So parang ako, almost never read unfiltered news. Parang, okay, I follow this guy. He's an expert in commodities. Most likely, alam niya ano yung importanteng news dyan. What are the important stuff happening? So, 90% of my information is from those things. People I trust, whether it's like Edmond or Boss or people in Twitter. Diba? Parang kailangan mo hanapin eh. Kasi parang if I just read unfiltered news, wala, I'm gonna wasting a lot of my time eh. Diba? Pero yeah. So, pero the news, mga Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal, mga ganyan.
Just for a benchmark, sir, around how many people do you listen to?
That will, of course, that will depend on ano ba talaga yung exact system mo. For me, mga 10 siguro roughly.
Thank you, sir.
Ang galing ng Twitter.
Kyle, go for it. Oh, sorry. Please continue, Jason.
Ang galing ng Twitter, dapat i-bayad na yung Twitter eh. Galing eh. I mean, it's just crowdsourcing eh, diba? Okay, yun lang.
Okay. Kyle, go for it.
Okay, so for the risk of and risk on, has it ever happened na yung safe haven, they don't outperform risk assets, and the risk assets, they don't also outperform safe haven?
Nahilo ko dun ah.
Like, kasi di ba pag sa asset class action sa risk on, the safe haven, they outperform risk assets, while in risk on, risk assets outperform safe haven.
Oh.
Nangyari na ba na like, na yung two na yun, they don't outperform each other?
I think, by its very nature, di ba, kasi relative siya eh. So, parating may mag-outperform isa. Diba? Siguro, makasasabi mo, both of them are going in no direction. Oh, pwede naman. I guess di ko naman pwede sabihin that can happen. No? But yeah, sometimes definitely from a top-down basis, things aren't clear. Happens a lot. Diba? Pero, yeah, that's why we always say cash is always a position. Diba? Hindi pwedeng default, atake parate. Actually, very valuable sometimes wala kang position.
Danny? Did she hang?
Danny?
Yes, sir. I didn't raise my hand though.
Oh, no question for you?
Oh, no.
Sorry, you had your hand up lang.
No.
Okay.
Feel free to ask though if you have something in mind or if you wanna, Oh, here, question from the live stream from Miguel. Is there any way you can anticipate black swans?
Oh, that's a nice question. If you were able to anticipate them, it won't be called a black swan. Alam mo yun? Parang if most people anticipate something that's gonna happen, then it won't happen. Nagets mo? Kasi everyone will already react from it eh. Let's say, oh shit, may mangyayari, bababa yung market, ibibenta na ako. Diba? So, by its very nature, it's not a black swan. Okay, pero I guess 99.99% of the time, you would already see signs of something happening in the market. Even way before whatever news comes out. Diba? So I guess that's the value of knowing your technicals talaga. Diba? And how to look at the big picture. Diba? I mean, we never predict naman eh. Anything ah. But nakaiwas na kami, I mean, almost all of the time when there's a major drop in the market. It's not magic ah. It's not prediction. Diba? It's reading the signs. Diba? But syempre sometimes on individual stocks, yan, minsan natatamaan kami. Especially in your biotech stocks. That's why ako personally, I never touch those things eh. May dati sa Japan, I remember eh. May news came out on the biotech stock, lunchtime. Then I couldn't get out for the next 2 days. Down 50% ako on that position. So ayan, mas nangyayari on individual stocks. Na complete surprise.
Okay, we've got another question on the stream from Ryan. In anticipation of the upcoming Fed meeting, do we change the risk on sentiment on the PH market once they start tightening policies, despite the good market movement the past weeks?
Well, personal opinion, they won't do anything. But I just look at the market eh. But I think whatever, if ever they would tighten or just change some stance, I think it's already priced in. Because the 10 years increased so much. Okay? And when you look at the 10-year, Philippine markets, it's near the support levels, diba? As I said, parang start of a big trend. So things are not overbought. Okay? So for me, I wouldn't change my stance. Of course, may ano yan. If I'm proven wrong, then syempre, palit na. Pero for now, I 90% chance I wouldn't do anything. Kasi I think that's one thing also with nowadays na parang there's almost never a surprise anymore from the Fed. Diba? Before it does something, parang it's already very well telegraphed eh. Months in advance. Na okay, this is what I'm gonna do. You expect this, I'm thinking about this. Alam mo yun? Ang dami ng forward guidance eh. Diba? So by the time the actual action is done, wala nang effect sa market eh. Nagbago na yung Fed eh. I mean, before, maraming bulaga talaga. Before. Diba? So if you would, di ka maingat sa, sa exposure mo sa market, especially when things are overbought, wala, patay ka dyan. Diba?
Alvin, you have another question?
Is there always an asset class that's performing out there regardless of the market environment, or are there times when everything's going down?
Yeah. In very rare instances, there are times when everything's going down. Most likely that would be a financial crisis where, as I said, yung players are in a scramble to raise cash. Diba? If I don't raise cash, baka mabankrupt ako. Or I'm forced to liquidate. A broker forced to liquidate your positions, doesn't care what it is. Diba? So during those times, everything can go down or go in the same direction. But 95% of the time, there's always a bull market globally. Meaning may parating paakit dyan. Okay?
Okay, we have one more question from the stream. Ryan is asking, regarding your 250 EMA analysis, given a good market environment, do you start positioning a stock if it shows a good bottoming pattern even before the golden cross? For example, seeing a cup and handle even if it's below the EMA, which are starting to flatten out.
Uh, like I said a while ago. So sometimes there's no confirmation here from top down, diba? That things are gonna improve, diba? And sometimes if you wait for this golden cross or confirmation, sometimes medyo late ka na. I mean, that's fine, diba? But kami, we look at closely what's happening underneath. Let's say meron ng mga setups showing, diba? We think the market's oversold already, diba? We're gonna be alam mo yun, dipping our toes in the market. Diba? Dipping our toes, testing. Diba? And then when we're, let's say, may proven correct na kami, we're right, action is improving in the market, yun, I'm very aggressive in increasing my exposure once I'm already proven correct na. Diba? Basta, pag, alam mo yun, pag wala pang sure, di pa kumikita masyado, testing lang yan. Diba? That's how you avoid gigantic loss in the markets. Diba? Parang wag mayabang. Diba? Diba? Pag anticipate kasi parang oy, tignan mo to, nabili ko sa ilalim, di mo, ang galing ko. Diba? Diba? Sometimes it pays off big. I mean, but if you do that over and over again, I guarantee you, baka talo ka pa.
Abe?
Yeah, just to follow up a while ago with Alvin's question about regarding, how you choose the certain people in Twitter for your information. If it's not confidential, could you give us like some recommendations as well?
Follow mo lang ako sa Twitter.
Sige. What's your name?
Ako ba yung username ko? Wait lang.
Jason for others.
Di, iba yun.
Sorry.
High school yun, high school username. Jason_87.
Nalik ko yung...
Yeah. So, ayan, ako, kasi I'm mostly macro. So, most of the stuff there are macro-based. But, I also do, of course, individual stocks. So, especially mga high growth yung favorite natin eh. So, for that, I follow kasi mga puro sa Sena, mga ganyan. Diba? Then, a common theme is that I follow a lot of practitioners dapat. Meaning, eto, nagtitrain talaga to. Diba? Kasi parang, that's how you validate it. They know what they're talking about eh. Diba?
Guys, more questions? Last call, guys. Last call. Any questions? Any final thoughts? Okay. If not, let's wrap it up there now. So, thank you again so much, Jason, for that beautiful two-part series on market sentiment. Thank you again, everyone, for attending the live session. As always, feel free to post your questions on Facebook or ask your mentors. Just a reminder that there's going to be no session tomorrow. So please take the time to relax or go over the content that you didn't understand so much over the previous week. Take the opportunity to ask your mentors also, or shoot a message on the Facebook group for everybody to hear. It might be a really good question that might help other people also. Our next event is going to be another one of our special Friday events on June 18. So please stay tuned for that. We'll be having a Q&A session with a very distinguished panel. I hope you're all as excited as I am. Please post any questions you have for the panel on the Facebook page. I made a post there, so you'll see it. Just comment down any questions you have, because all those questions that you comment will again be prioritized over the live questions that will be asked that day. So yeah, that's all. Please stay safe, everyone. Enjoy your lunch. We'll see you on Friday.
Intern, stay, wait lang. Stop na muna yung live stream.
Okay.